Okay, we are resuming our football club history series. We're going to Scotland for this video and we're looking at Falkirk Football Club. Now, they currently play at the Falkirk Stadium, currently has a capacity of 7,937, so a decent stadium for an average Scottish club. Attendances are generally lower north of the border than south of the border. Falkirk themselves as a club are founded in 1876, but it takes until 1902 for Falkirk to enter the Scottish League system when they are elected to the Scottish Second Division, as it was then for the 1902-1903 season. But very, very quickly, they reach the top flight. They runners up twice in the top flight to Celtic, within only a handful of years of being in the top flight. That was in the 1907-1908 season and the 1909-1910 season. Runners up twice. They came very, very close to winning the league title. Obviously, Celtic won in both those seasons. But don't worry, there is some success for Falkirk if you're a non-initiated fan. If you're a Falkirk fan, you know about the silverware. But for other people, maybe a bit surprised that Falkirk have won some trophies. And they have a trophy record in Scottish football. Now, let's have a look at their previous stadiums before they end up at the Falkirk Stadium, because this is a very interesting story that ends up with them missing out on 3 promotions because of the SPL's introduction of stricter stadium criteria in the late 90s. Has some implications. So, they initially start playing at Hope Street, then they move to Randy Ford Park, and the most Scottish sounding, or the most Scottish name, should I say, but say it in a Scottish accent, especially a Central Belt accent, Blink Bonnie Park. Say that in a Scottish accent, you can understand why that's the most Scottish name for a football stadium ever, before they finally decide to settle at Brockville Park. Now, Brockville Park, their historic home ground, was built on the old Hope Street site. Now, they play basically 9 years at those little stadiums before moving to Brockville Park. They stay there from 1885 until 2003. Now, it's towards the end of their time at Brockville Park that some issues arise. They were denied promotion on 3 separate occasions because Brockville Park did not meet SPL stadium criteria that were rigorously enforced with Falkirk. And that ultimately led to them building their new stadium, the Falkirk Stadium, and moving in there in 2004, but they were denied promotion 3 times because of stadium criteria. Sort of a little bit similar to Luton at the end of last season. When they get promotion via the playoffs to the English Premier League, they had to make massive upgrades to their stadium for VAR requirements, and there were concerns that wouldn't be ready in time for basically this season, and they had to play their opening games away from home, which impacted their results. Falkirk weren't even given that opportunity to make stadium upgrades. They were just denied the opportunity to play at a higher level on 3 separate occasions. Now, Falkirk currently play in Scottish League 1, which is their third, basically what would be a third division. So they're not in the top flight at the moment, which is a shame, but they do have some silverware. As I said, very early on, they're runners-up twice to Celtic in the 1900s. In just after the 1900s, in the 1912-1913 season, they win their first piece of silverware, which is the Scottish Cup, for the first time. So they were a very good side in the 1900s and 1910s, just before the First World War. They don't win silverware again until after the Second World War in the 1956-57 season. So the 2 World Wars disrupt their trophy haul and limits their ability to win trophies, because I've said this before in previous club history videos over the last couple of years when we do them, that the First and Second World Wars did impact football clubs in winning silverware massively. And I do honestly believe, looking at the fact that how they were runners-up twice not long before the First World War and won a Scottish Cup in that time frame, that they could have potentially won more silverware had the First World War not intervened. Very similar to the Second World War as well, when league play was finally suspended in England and in Scotland. So I think that could potentially have impacted this club's ability to win. But there we go. Now, the Scottish Challenge Cup, which would be the equivalent, would be the Football League trophy here in England, they've won a record 4 times. All in the 90s and the 2000s and the 2010s. So 92-93 they win their first, 96-97 they win their second, 2003-2004 they win their third, and 2011-2012 they win their 4th and record-breaking Scottish Challenge Cup as a lower league side. So they're pretty good in the lower levels, of which they've existed for quite some time at this point. Their major rivals, they've got 2 major rivals I could find looking at their Wikipedia page. Dunfermline Athletic is their biggest rival, and then East Stirlingshire is their historical rival. And games between these clubs get quite heated, and I think the fans would agree. So there you go. I like to keep these videos very, very brief. If they had not had any honours, for example, I would have looked at some club records like appearances, goals, highest attendances, biggest wins, that kind of thing. But they've won a bit of silverware, so I have a little honours section. I like to vary it on club to club. So that's a brief look at Falkirk. Very interesting club, one of the oldest clubs not only in Scotland but in the UK. Founded in 1876. They predate the Football League by 12 years. And the FA Cup and professionalism, I think, had only been going for a year at this point. So they're a very, very old club. I am surprised by the lack of success. I do think both World War I and World War II had a slight impact on that. If you look at their Scottish Cup winning dates, and you look at the fact that just before the First World War, they were runners-up on 2 separate occasions in the Scottish League behind Celtic. I do think if war doesn't come in 1914, they could have potentially won a bit more silverware, which could have altered their trajectory in history somewhat. Also, the old Brockfield Park not meeting stadium criteria and being denied promotions, again, I think has impacted their ability to win more silverware. But there we go, there's a brief look at Falkirk Football Club. I could have covered some of their runners-up appearances in the Scottish Cup and Scottish League Cup, but no one remembers the runners-up, they only remember the winners, so I thought I'd focus just on what they've won silverware-wise. But they've had a lot of runners-up medals as well in all the cup competitions that professional Scottish clubs play in, but they've only managed to win the 6 trophies. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comments section below. I want to hear from Falkirk fans, especially because you could tell me the record goal scorer, record appearance scorer, record cup goal scorer, the first international the club had, that kind of thing. That's kind of fun also to add to the knowledge bank. But from me for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.